Good evening. This is Liz Busquets, and um, tonight is the 12th of August 2021, and this is the monthly meeting of the ASCA Board of Directors. If this is the first time that you're tuning in to our meeting, the way that we do this is we have items on the agenda. We go through each item, and then if there are motions on the floor, we go ahead and vote on them, and we go around to give each director the opportunity to make comments or suggestions. So um, today present are, besides myself, Carol, Denise, Gina, Jan, Jean, Judy, Rick, Susan, and Anne, and Carla is also present. So the first item on the agenda is last month's email business.
This is Gina. I make a motion to approve the last month's email business.
I'll second
I'll
it.
second, Denise.
I have no idea who seconded.
I think Jan did. Was it Jan? We said it at the same time.
Yes, we said it at the same time.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a motion by Gina, seconded by Jan, to approve last month's email business. Any discussion? All right, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, our next item on the agenda is the computer system update. Gina?
Okay, I hope I can get through this without my neighbors barking dogs. So the project, I guess techie people like to name their projects. So it's been named WARP, and we're at WARP 1. And WARP stands for Web ASCA Rebuild Project. There's been some really good discussion on automating the business office process. Right now, there's estimated 85% of the business office processes are manual and paper, so hopefully that will improve. The first phase is near completion, and that includes building out the development ops and the pipeline in Azure and the initial design. And I will say that in the beginning, we had talked about using or going to AWS, but it was decided that Azure would be a better fit for what ASCA needs. Right now, the ASCA team is focusing on identifying and documenting all the business office processes, both the manual ones as well as those that are already automated via the web portal. The necessary work will produce the requirements as well as the workflows needed to do the rebuild project. Maureen is the ASCA project manager, and she's working closely with Ray and Inventive to documenting the business office processes. I think, let's see, what else? Martin has set up the Azure environment so that the development can begin to log in and set up the staging environment, build the databases, and set up the email services, and all that kind of stuff. I think budget-wise, we are slightly below the projected dollars and projected hours. Basically, I think this was planned for because they expect some numerous additional requirements that are not in the current web portal requirements that will be requested. And the issue-wise, documentation on the existing processes, workflows, and requirements are lacking detail. This impacts Inventive as they are currently working on designing the wireframes. Wireframes are the portal screens. And so Maureen is focusing on bringing those up to date with the business office. So that's about all I have so far. Is there any questions?
Who Who is
Yeah.
this? Rick?
It was Rick, but are you going to go around, or I can ask?
Yeah,
It
that's
just doesn't matter.
I think that's the easiest way to do it, because
Okay.
there may be more than one question, so I'm just going to
Okay.
go around and let you guys ask away. Carol? Carol? Okay, we'll come back to Carol. Denise?
I don't, me and computer stuff, I don't have a lot of questions, but I think that I really appreciate how Gina has kept us really up to date on what's happening, and it sounds like things are working out, and a lot of the things that they've come up with certainly make sense. So as far as I'm concerned, it sounds great. I appreciate it, Gina, very much.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jan?
I have no questions at this time. Thank you, Gina.
Sure, thanks.
Jean?
I just want to second Denise's comments, really. I feel like we are being kept up to date, and I feel like there's like real progress being made and even more on the horizon. So it helps me remain optimistic about it. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Judy?
Ditto what Jean said. I am so happy it's coming along so well.
Right? Oh my God.
All right. Rick?
Yeah, Gina, I'll kind of chime in with everybody else. Thank you for everything you've done. But my question is, I know that a lot of us are not techie. I know a lot of the membership is not techie. I think when we talk about this, especially on the open call, we need to let people know about when we use these acronyms like Assure, or whatever you were saying.
Oh,
I
Azure.
personally I do not know what that stands for, and I guarantee you half of the 3/4 of the membership will not either. Can you, when you give your updates, explain so people understand what you're talking about?
Absolutely, and I will explain that. It's basically the cloud environment. Azure is one cloud environment, and they incorporate a lot of the Microsoft apps. AWS is Amazon Web Services. So it's just basically the cloud, what cloud that we are moving to. And I think that's probably the only thing, like the staging environments, those are just the environment that they're working on. As our computer system is working right now, the environment, what they're working is working alongside of that. I don't know if we have like any other acronyms, or like wireframes. If they mention wireframes, those are just like the screens that you'll be seeing, like the members when they go online and they pull up a form or something, those are the wireframes that they're working on right now. So, and by the way, I'm not a techie either, and thank you to Martin and Ali for all this helping me through and understanding. I have learned more than I thought I would ever learn about computers. But anyway, if you have any other questions on acronyms, I'm not sure. I think that's probably all I used in there. I didn't realize I didn't explain those.
No, that's fine. I just, for the membership, I know people are probably asking what that means. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely, sure.
All right. Susan?
Thanks, Gina. I was terrified I'd get stuck with this being local, and it is not in my wheelhouse. Thank you so much.
Wasn't in my wheelhouse either.
All right. Anne?
Yes, I want to thank Gina for all her work, and I find it very helpful and enlightening on the absolute amount of work that it takes to make things look so easy on the screen. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and the membership may complain, oh, why can't you do this and why can't you do this? And just the processes behind it that you're working on and Inventive is working on to make this what the membership expects. I think I'm really encouraged that it's moving forward, and that everyone will be happy with the end result, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. This, you're right. And the process of just even pulling up a screen and having it work and getting the right answers and stuff you want, it looks like it's so easy. But the process to get there and documenting all those processes is just in depth. It's just overwhelming as far as I'm concerned. And the whole database migration is not a simple lift and shift. There's rules all entwined. I think Ali called it spaghetti coding. So it's just not this real easy transfer to the cloud. It's pretty in depth. So again, you know, Ali and Martin and Maureen they're just lifesavers for this project. They're amazing. So thank you to them.
All right. So I have no questions, and I want to, I agree with the comments that have been made that this is not an easy process, and that Gina has kept us updated throughout this whole time. And I also want to shout out a thanks to Martin and Ali and Maureen and everybody from the ASCA team who has been involved in getting this going. And hopefully it will continue to go in this positive manner from now on. So thank you all.
Absolutely. And can I say one more thing, Liz? Just so people know, this is not just a fly-by-night project. There is a full-on ASCA team, and there's a full-on Inventive team, and they meet constantly all the time. So there's a lot on both sides going into this project to make it successful. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So the next and last item on the agenda tonight is some questions from about the 2021 Nationals, and Rick is going to talk to us about it. Rick?
Yes, these two questions were brought forth by the NAC and Laura Gibson. I guess question number one is, will the board allow refunds to our European and Canadian members after the August 31st cutoff, should their borders be closed or their government does not allow them to travel over here? Laura is wanting something officially made and put out so these folks will understand, yes, they can go ahead and enter, yes, they can plan to come over here, but should the borders not open up and should they not be allowed, will they be able to get refunds? And I'd like for the board to kind of discuss that and get a consensus so we can post that out to the membership.
All right. Thanks, Rick. So you heard the first question, so I'm just going to go around. Carol? Carol? I think we lost Carol.
Her phone must have died.
Okay. Denise?
I think that because it is a national mandate, in that would be in that situation, that we should give a refund. because they don't have a choice. Their country says you cannot go, and so it's not a choice. So I would say yes, that we should give a refund for those people from Canada and the European countries. Any out of country borders where their country says you cannot go. And so yes, I think we should give a refund.
All right, thank you. Gina?
Yeah, I think we should give refunds also, but we don't know what the future's going to hold with the Delta variant. So, I mean, it could be possible where states say, you cannot leave the state, you cannot, or, you can't come back into the state, or, who knows what's going to happen. So I'm thinking anybody that has, in any area that has restrictions, we should probably refund. That's just my thoughts.
Thanks, Gina. Jan?
I would support a refund for closed countries that can't travel. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
I agree with Gina. I mean, I think legitimately, most people want to come to nationals. Most people are not going to be asking for refunds and say that they can't travel lightly. They're going to, So I would even support it if there are people with health concerns or whatever, that it turns out that, I mean, if things blew up in Brazos County or wherever, and people don't feel safe, I feel like they should get a refund, but that's just me. So, but I certainly support out of country for sure.
Thanks, Jean. Judy?
Yes, I agree with the refund, but we have to remember it's not necessarily their country that is not allowing them. Right now, America is not allowing them to come in. So we have to make sure it's both ways. For whatever reason, if due to COVID, they're not allowed to come here or go home, then we should give them a refund. And I can also see the point of Jean and Gina's, if there are restrictions out and you can't get here due to your state or your area being closed, then that's something we have to look at. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to skip you for a moment, Rick, and go to Susan.
Okay, I definitely support if it is outside of the U.S. that they are either not allowed to leave their own country, or if the U.S. is not allowing travel from specific countries. But I think we're looking at two different pieces here. I think we need to address the international portion first, and then we address anything within the U.S. before we. I think they're two separate issues. I think we need to address them each separately. I support refunding any non-U.S. individual who has paid to enter and cannot attend.
Thanks, Susan. Anne, any thoughts?
I agree with what most people have said, that if there are restrictions that are obviously beyond their control and they obviously paid their entries and they want to come, but are forbidden from doing so because of federal or international regulations, then they should get a refund. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so my opinion is that in any case that restrictions make it impossible for people to come, the restrictions are out of their control, and they should get a refund. That's my feeling on it. I don't know, Rick, if you want to go ahead and try to make a motion that goes ahead and just addresses the international folks, or how what do you think?
I felt like we had a consensus, but if you feel like a motion is necessary, I too feel like that any of our European or Canadian members who, after the August 31st cutoff, is unable to travel due to their country restrictions, I do feel like that we, ASCA, owe them a refund. And I can make a motion, or we do have a consensus. So
Yeah, we have consensus. I don't think we need to do it.
So I think that piece we do have a consensus on. Jean and Gina did bring up a valid point regarding our in-state members. My opinion is if your county, your state restricts you, I don't think they can restrict you from leaving, but they can definitely restrict you from coming back without a quarantine. I think if there's a verifiable case with that issue, then definitely I think the board should address it. Maybe we should just address that on one-off, because I think those will be few and far in between. But I do think that's a valid concern, and it's something that the board can consider. But I do think we have a consensus on the other with our European and Canadian members. So I'd like to, I don't know if we want Calla to put something out, or Liz, you, or something, but it does need to go out soon, because there are members out there that are not entering just because they're not sure, and they don't want to, throw their good money down the drain if they're not going to get a refund.
Sure. I think Calla and I can work on a quick message to send it out.
Okay.
So, no
Thank
problem. Yeah. All right. If we think, if the U.S. or any state puts out any restrictions, then we can look at that. Right now, there's none that has travel restrictions, interstate. So I think that if any come up, then we can address it. It's my feeling. Yeah. All right.
Liz?
So, yes.
There was a question, and I brought it up to Calla, and she sort of included it in this topic, and that is within the U.S., if your employer says if you go someplace outside of our county or state or whatever, that you have to quarantine before you come back to work. That was brought up to me this last weekend at an agility trial. And I think that we do need to discuss that, because that is a personal decision if you're willing to give up that 2 weeks from your work or not. So I think we should bring that up totally separately. I don't know if we want to do it right now, but we would, we probably do, because they need to know if we will give them a refund or not. For example, my son works for Smuckers, and their policy earlier on was that if they left the state, I don't know if it was the county or if it was the state, or anybody in their family did, then they had to quarantine for 2 weeks before they came back to work. And so his daughter, for her birthday, went to the Cincinnati Zoo, which is actually not in Kentucky, but it's in Ohio. And he told her, if you go to the zoo, you have to stay with your girlfriend for 2 weeks, because otherwise I can't go back to work. And so that scenario, has to be thought about ahead of time with everybody. So that's just a question. I don't know if you want to discuss it now or if you want to discuss it later. But I think it is something we have to inform the membership on. Thank you.
Well, I don't think that's really a decision for me to make, whether we discuss it or not. I think the board has to, decide whether they want to discuss now and come to a consensus now about that type of situation, and also the state, prohibiting or restricting travel in some way. Then we can do that. But I think that then the best thing to do then is go around and see whether that's where we're at, and then if there's consensus, then that's it. So I'm gonna call on Carol if she's back. No. Okay. So I'm gonna call on Gina.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so I think we should refund any COVID related issues, whether it's the state or counties or whatever won't let you back in, whether employees say that, you have to quarantine, though I think that is something that they probably would know beforehand, but probably not before August. So yeah, any COVID related issues should be, as long as you can validate them, should be refunded. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Jan?
I'll support what the board goes with. I think it's could get sticky wicket on some of the reasonings, but I think anything that is not mandated for a certain area, we need to follow suit with that. And hopefully that will not be the case in the United States. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Jean?
Yeah, I agree with Gina. I think if somebody has a COVID related issue and they're requesting a refund, regardless of where they live, I think it should be honored. Like I said before, I think most people would really like to come to nationals. So I don't feel like they're going to, do this in a frivolous manner. So I just support, if somebody says they can't go because anything COVID, then we just say, okay, thank you, and refund their money. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. Judy?
I agree. Anything COVID related, we need to refund their money. Thanks.
Thank you. Rick?
I guess I'm a little bit different on this. I don't have a problem refunding their money as long as it's a verifiable issue or occurrence. The human is kind of a funny animal, and they will use every avenue they can to get a refund, even if it's not COVID related. So I definitely feel like if that occurrence comes up, it definitely needs to be verified. We could do it kind of like the board member does with their complaints right now. We could sign a director to verify that. If a director verifies it and it is true, I have no problem and feel like ASCA should refund, but it has to be a verifiable issue there.
Thanks, Rick. Yep. Susan?
I'm just, I guess I'm kind of a little bit with Rick. I know that by August 31st, we need to let them know, but I also have this big thought process that things are going to be a lot different. I personally feel like this is going to burn itself out. And as more and more people get vaccinated, this Delta variant is not having the negative impact that it does on the unvaccinated people. So I have a hard time trusting that these people are going to be honest. And I would hope that we don't open ourselves up to having to verify 50 to 100 requests for refunds. So I'm anxious about saying we're going to refund on any COVID related illness. I think, again, yeah, verifiable, but it's going to almost be on a one-by-one basis. And how do we trust that? We've already seen some situations. How do we trust that they're really being honest? And if they can't verify it, then are we just going to say no? I think it's just a multi-layer situation that I feel like we're just kind of skimming the top layer.
Thanks, Susan. Anne?
I agree with both Rick and Susan. And yeah, I absolutely certainly stand and agree, as everyone else has agreed, that international refunds, but I do think, as much as one would like to believe the honesty of all people, we know that that's not always true. And so, yeah, it may add extra work, but I do think that anything other than an international request should have some sort of verification attached to it, and that have to look on a case-by-case basis, knowing that in general that our leaning is absolutely for COVID-related items that one would get a refund. That's my thoughts.
Thanks, Anne. I agree with Rick on this. Any request for a refund probably needs to be verified. It's got to be verifiable. If it's in Florida, I'm sure that memos will go out saying this is the policy of such and such company, and so on. So I think that yes, it needs to be verifiable. Therefore, I think that what's going to happen is that in those cases, these are going to have to be individually processed rather than having a blank statement, because I just don't think that we can make a general statement because we're going to have such different situations that I think that this is something that we're just going to have to look at individually when we receive such a request. That's my thought on it. So, I don't know if this is the way that you think we could go, Rick, or
Yeah, my personal opinion, but I'm okay with whatever the board wants to do. But I really think that we ought to address those situations on a one-by-one occurrence and just move forward, because those are going to be little different situations than our Canadian and European members have to go through.
right?
I would agree. I agree with that, Rick. And I think that the main difference is that they have no choice whether they come or not. Domestic people that have to quarantine, they do have a choice. If they want to go to nationals, bad enough, they can still come.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's that yeah, and so that's why I'm hesitant to just put a blanket. Yeah, if it's a COVID-related thing, we refund. No, I don't think that that's right. I think that opens it up to too many variables.
Okay, so that's what it looks like that we agreed to be doing is if we get any requests from within the 50 states, then we should look at those individually and instead of making a blanket statement about it, because we're just going to have too many different situations. And I think that's probably the best way to handle it. So Rick, there was something else, yeah?
Yes, there was a question number 2. There is a agility pretrial for this year's nationals. In their premium, it states no bitches in season will be allowed to enter this trial. But since that premium was put forth to the membership, last month the board passed a motion stating that bitches in season should be shown at the end of the trial. Now, this was brought forth to the NAC. The NAC advised the Agility Club to update their premium with the new information by the passed motion. This Agility Club would like it to come from the board rather than the NAC. So they are not willing to update their premium until the board tells them, yes, bitches are allowed to show that are in season, but they will run at the end of the trial. I mean, to me, it's common sense to me. I mean, we passed a motion, update your premium, but obviously it's not that black and white. So I would like the board to chime in and let's give these guys an answer so they can either update their premium or not.
All right. Thanks, Rick. So let's go around. Have Carol come back.
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Okay, Carol, go ahead.
So I am totally in favor of doing whatever we have to do. I don't know if we have to vote on it or what, but to approve that it comes from the board to be in compliance with the, having the bitches in season run at the end. That's all.
Okay, thanks. Denise?
Yes, I think that absolutely they should update their premium to allow bitches in season since that motion was approved by the board. Thank you.
Thanks. Gina?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. It's a rule and it was upon board approval, which means now. So if they need something from the board, that rule is in effect, then I guess we can send them something. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jan?
I have nothing to add. I agree. It was passed by the board and they should follow through. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
Yeah, they need to update their premium. Thanks.
Judy?
I agree. They need to update the premium.
All right. Susan?
Yes, update the premium, follow the rules. It was passed by the board.
Thank you. Anne?
Yeah, if it's now a rule, then they need to change the premiums. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, I agree. They need to update the premium. Seems like we have a consensus. So I think that we can go ahead and send them some kind of email or something stating that the decision was made to pass that motion. Therefore, they have to change the premium. Any other discussion about this, Rick?
Calla, would you mind sending that information to Laura so she can address this? I don't want it to feel like it's just coming from the one individual off the board. That way it's a consensus from Calla that, yes, the board discussed this and this is what needs to be done.
Yep, that's no problem.
Thank you. Thank you, board. All right. So that was the last item that we had on the agenda, but before I asked for a motion to adjourn, I want to say, since this is the first meeting after the election results came out, welcome to Anne as a new director, and also a million thanks to Judy for her service. So then, please, a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting. Denise?
This is Gina. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Denise, seconded by Gina to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Assuming there's no abstentions and no opposition. So, all right. Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks to the membership for listening in. Until next time. Thank you.
Good night.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.